Welcome back. A controversy has once again erupted in Karnataka's politics as Siddaramaiah government has decided to repeal the anti-conversion law which was introduced by the former BJP government in the state. Now, the present government will bring a law to repeal this particular act that has existed so far in the upcoming assembly session on the 3rd of July. The anti-conversion law, also known as the Karnataka Protection of Right to Freedom of Religion, was passed by the earlier Basavaraj Bommai government back in December 2021. The law, which makes religious conversions through coercion, misrepresentation, allurement illegal, has been adopted by many BJP-ruled states. The Congress has called the law unconstitutional against the ethos of communal harmony in the country. The party claims that the law is being used to harass minorities. Now, when the elections were going on, when there was this entire narrative, the party has promised to repeal the law when the campaigning was underway. And now the party says it has promised, it has delivered on what it had said earlier. It has the mandate to do so. Hindu groups, as expected, are up in arms with Bajrang Dal staging protests against Siddaramaiah government. As communal fault lines return, the big question is this purely a policy agenda by the new government, or this is once again brazen appeasement politics by the Congress party, which the BJP accuses the Congress of? We discuss on Viewpoint tonight.
All we are now doing is just repeal that provisos which the previous government brought about, and that's all we are doing. And we respect, our government respect the constitution.
We are now making that in tune with the constitutional spirit.
अगर वो लोग वो बिल को वापस लेना चाहते हैं तो हाउस और हाउस के बाहर भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी उसके प्रोटेस्ट करेंगे.
Appeasement politics. They just want to distract the people from the guarantee scheme because they failed in guarantee. They are not able to deliver the guarantee.
The communal fault lines, they never disappeared, but they seem to have strongly reappeared in the Karnataka's politics. Prashant JS, who's a spokesperson of Karnataka BJP, Mr. Rashid Kidwai, who's an author and senior journalist, and Mr. B.S. Arun, who's a senior journalist. We also have Samrugh Hegde, who's a spokesperson of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. A very good evening to all of you. Prashant JS, coming to you. The Congress Party argues that this entire law was something that was not permitted under Indian Constitution. They also say that the manner in which this law was drafted and the provisions of the law were drafted in a manner that it was used as a tool to harass the minority community. I ask you to open the debate here because the direct question is to the BJP that this was a law which ab initio was unconstitutional in nature.
What is unconstitutional about the law, which was Right to Freedom of Religion Act 2022? What is unconstitutional? What was brought about in that? Only to say forced conversions cannot be done. You cannot allure somebody. You cannot lure somebody into conversion. You can't convert somebody through coercion. Constitution gives the right to every individual to choose the religion of his or her choice. We are not even disputing it. At the same time, you can't have forceful conversions because if the Congress party respects the sentiments of Hindus and also keeping in mind the constitutional provisions and the law laid down by Supreme Court, the law laid down by Supreme Court is applicable to every citizen of the country as per Article 141(1) of the Constitution. In Stainlaws versus State of Madhya Pradesh, Supreme Court has said that conversion is not a fundamental right.
is not.
And
Yes.
state can regulate wherever it sees there's a issue in that.
I'll
So
point out.
therefore,
I point
the
out a
Congress is
specific
trying to
provision
only
that has
appease
been
the
pointed.
minority vote
Yes,
bank,
you're
only keeping
you're
in mind
absolutely
its vote
you're
bank
absolutely right in
politics.
Rev Stainlaws versus the state of Madhya Pradesh. In fact, it's a constitutional precedent that has been used elsewhere. But there's a particular provision I want to talk to you about. The fact that anybody could have been a complainant, the fact that the burden of proof was put on the person against whom the complaint was being made, the fact that there was disproportionate powers that were given to the police, and there was also a power of arrest that they could exercise upon a mere complaint, made this entire law a tool of harassment. The particular provisions I'm talking about.
Anusha, see, if the government finds that there is something which is unconstitutional or it will result to something, they can bring in measures to regulate it if they feel that the regulation is not proper. Repealing is not the act. The act of repeal indicates the Congress mindset of being anti-Hindu, divisive politics, and only to practice vote bank politics, nothing else. Because what they're doing is nothing but appeasement. Because if there are two sides to a coin of Congress, one is corruption, another is appeasement. So therefore, on one hand, they're failing to promise they're fulfilling the promises there. They're landing in trouble there as to what they promise and what they're trying to deliver. To deviate the people from that, they're trying to bring in this and incite fear in the minds of people that Karnataka is not safe for people, and they're wanting to bring the anti-conversion law, which in fact is absolutely baseless because Karnataka is one of the most peaceful
Now I want to
states,
go to the Congress
but
party,
Congress
which is
not trying to
the
appease
ruling
minority for vote bank
government in
politics.
the state. Samriddhiji, the point that I want to understand from you, a question plain and simple. Are there no illegal conversions that happen in the state of Karnataka? Let me put it in a different way. Are there no conversions that happen in Karnataka because of allurement or various other methods which this particular law has made illegal? Are you saying there are no instances? And if there are instances, don't we need a law to regulate it, sir? Mr. Hegde.
Let me start off by saying the BJP and the opposition are unable to digest the fact that the Congress manifesto has been accepted by the people of Karnataka, and we are only delivering on our promises. The guarantees have been implemented, and now we are undoing the wrongs that were brought in by the BJP, by the previous government. The people of Karnataka have elected a Sarva Janangada Sarkara. With respect to the legislation in question, it was first brought in as an ordinance and then as an act without any empirical data or any statistics. It's pertinent to note that both the central government and the state government at the time had absolutely no data on the number of forced conversions either in the state or in the country. It was brought in only
You
to
have numbers for
further
conversion, is it?
Sir, one second. Sir, one second. Let him make his point. Sir, let him make his point. I'll come to you. Mr. Hegde, make your point. Yes.
The act only sought to further a political agenda and attempted to create a hostile environment in the state. So we are in no way defending forced conversions by allurement in any means. But we are saying there are sufficient remedies available in existing statutes and under existing provisions of law.
For example?
This particular act.
For example,
the Indian Penal Code.
No, what provisions under the Indian
Section
Penal Code?
506 of the Indian Penal Code.
Okay.
This particular act was used as a tool to peddle hate and sow seeds of communism. And we should take action against anyone who peddles hate and against those who indulge in forced conversion. Now, any individual may choose to
506 is a threat to cause death or grievous hurt. It's no 506. 506, Mr. Hegde, is a section which is about causing grievous hurt or it's intimidation.
So it's criminal intimidation.
Yeah, but it also requires grievous injury, grievous physical injury. That's what it requires.
Not at all. It doesn't require injury. Ma'am, I'm an advocate by profession.
With due respect, I know a bit of law. It does.
It does not. It does not.
It is a cause and offence punishable with death or imprisonment of life or with an imprisonment which may extend to 7 years. Are you saying this grievous injury is without physical injury?
Of course, 506 only speaks about criminal intimidation. It does not require injury to take place.
Mr. Samriddhi,
I can't debate on a fact. I can't debate on a fact.
When I'm talking about...
One second. Prashantji, I'm coming to you after this. Yes.
Now, when a particular person wants to convert into Hinduism or convert into Islam or convert into Christianity, it is his personal right and he should be allowed to do it. Such acts act as an obstacle to
following your own personal and individual rights. And that is why it has to be repealed.
Well, sir, the fact of the matter is that the question that the BJP is asking you, yes, Mr. Prashant, make your point, then I'll take another point. Yes.
We are not stopping anybody from voluntary conversion. If people want to convert on their own will, the Constitution provides for it, and we are not stopping it. What Congress is now trying to do is to support such of those people who would have indulged in illegal conversions to get away scot-free from the law. Because if there's somebody who's aggrieved by this, when they go to the court, like how the Congress spokesperson is now trying to say that it's under 506, court will say, under which law have you come to me? Criminal intimidation under IPC 506 is a more of a generic section, and you have to prove a lot of things. Whereas there is no specific law here to say that you were forcefully converted, because a lot of other factors go in. When the coercion happens, they are lured with money and people are threatened. You have seen on record what happened in Mandi also 2 years back as to how people came out and said what they were threatened with, how their relatives were threatened. So therefore, it has happened. And on record, the bishop from Kerala in 2021 has gone on to record to say that love jihad is increasing and they're luring Christian girls and also Hindu girls into this trap.
But sir, I believe there needs to be a distinction that's drawn here. Prashantji, I think there's a distinction that needs to be drawn here. Love jihad, quote unquote, a term which is talked about by the right-wing organizations. It's a slippery slope. One second, sir. One second. There you can argue whether it's criminal or it's not criminal. This particular law was about criminality of conversion. It drew a very strong line. I want to bring in Mr. B.S. Arun and Mr. Rashid Kidwai also into the discussion. They've been patiently listening to the political spokesperson. Mr. B.S. Arun, how do you see this move by the Karnataka government at the present stage? And this is in line with various other measures that they have taken, whether it's about the revision of the syllabus or a lot of quote-unquote corrections that they have made to different laws. This perhaps seemed to have given a new lease of life to the brand of communal politics in the state.
Well, this is one of those, as you mentioned, one of those, promises the Congress had made during the elections. It was part of the manifesto. So they are only saying that, they are implementing the manifesto promises. So to that extent, Congress is well within its rights to do what it wants to do. In 2021 itself, when the Bommai government brought in this law, Congress had said that within a week, of coming to power, it will repeal this law. Now, of course, it's close to a month, and they're doing it next month. So one is the election promise, and the other thing is, as you mentioned, that over the last few weeks, we have ever since coming to power, Congress, is going sort of on a fast track to undo all most of the things that the BJP government has done. One, and two, act on the promises that it has made, like the guarantees. The guarantees have been put on a fast track, although there are problems. The travel for women has been made free in the ordinary buses of the KSRTC, which is the government-run transport service. So like this, the Congress is now going ahead quite fast on implementing its poll promises. It's not waiting for for the days to come and for the assembly to meet. So it's taking decisions one by one, and these are the poll promises that
they had made. And you rightly say it's that these are poll promises that they need to deliver upon. The government also said that they have the mandate to do so. Mr. Rashid Kidwai, what the state government of Karnataka is doing right now will have a direct bearing in some way or the other on the narrative that we are going to witness from the Congress party ahead of the very crucial Lok Sabha elections, which are slated to happen next year. The slew of measures and bold measures, I might argue, that the state government has taken so far, what does it communicate?
So it is obviously, it shows there is a total political color, the BJP on the one side and the Congress on the other, about a thing that is essentially legal in nature. I fail to fathom if the BJP really feels very strongly about conversions and its impact on society. Why there has been 9 years, a full majority government has been in power at the center. Why no attempt has been made to bring a central law that would be applicable to all states. And you see, if you look at Anusha, I'm just saying as a from a reporter's perspective, most places we do not have a empirical data. I mean, there are reports by American think tanks, etc., which says that actually religious conversions are very few and they are quite rare, and they are there in all directions. I mean, Muslims converting to Christianity, Hindus converting to Christianity, and there's some Hindus, Christians and Muslims coming back to the Hindu fold and all, but there is a lack of data. And where there is a kind of criminal intent or criminal aspect comes in, most of the time it is used as so to discourage or harass priests and Malvis and the people and the religious authorities who do this conversion. So this is to scare away, and it is to give a thing that our religion is under threat and then we are a protector. Now that is not the state's job. State's job is to to allow and prevent any wrongdoing. Here, what is happening is a total what I call it as a kind of bullying method. This is not done.
All right. You've made your points, Prashant. Yes, I think you have a lot of things to rebut there. But my two questions to you. One is that many leaders of the BJP, some of whom lawyers at the Supreme Court, have raised this point that why not have a central legislation that deals with conversion? And your critics have, repeatedly used this particular argument that there is no empirical data. The government has been in power at the centre for about 2 terms now. The second term is nearing completion. But yet there is no empirical study or data to back an anti-conversion law. Please go ahead. Prashantji.
Yeah, Nisha. To answer the first one, why there is no central law, things will be looked into at whatever level laws will be brought in. The law committee and the senior cabinet, they will take a call, and laws wherever applicable will be promulgated. Next, coming back to empirical data, are you saying that in a country of 140 crore people, if 10,000 conversions happen, just because it's a minuscule number compared to the percentage, you are saying this is empirical data?
I'm not even going to the question of minuscule or major. I'm saying even if it's minuscule, major or whatever, it needs to be on paper, and it's not on paper. Yeah, Anusha, and that's what is the argument which is being used against this law.
Anusha, you can't play with the sentiments of Hindus by saying there is no number saying you have 1, 2 or 5 or 10. It is on record in many places how this happens. This is more like covert operations what they do. They convert people. They only show up later on saying that they've converted. The second generation is what they're targeting. They convert the first generation. The names don't get changed. So second generation they convert. There are dubious methods which are adopting. Everybody on this panel are aware as to what's happening. No, but they're only trying to give a different color to it, saying that there's no empirical data. Assuming that what they're saying we have to toe their line, fine. There is no empirical data. What's the harm in having a law which says if you're forcefully converting somebody, that he or she will be imprisoned? Why is Congress not behind it? Which means Congress is Congress wanting to have people to get converted forcefully?
All right, Mr. Hegde, the key question is that it's absolutely right, and I concede that point, that right now there is no empirical data to back a law of this nature. And in the absence of empirical data, one wonders to what extent should the law interfere. But that being said, forceful conversion is something that many people talk about. Various organizations have spoken of. This is a concern that the right-wing organizations have historically raised in this country. Shouldn't there be an attempt by the present state government to make tweaks or changes in the present law, which the Congress party had earlier argued to be unconstitutional? For example, the provision pertaining to complaint, or how the arrest happened, or the burden of proof that was put on the people who were accused disproportionately. Perhaps tweaking could have been the right way. Would you concede that point?
So right now we have only decided to repeal the law which was forced down the throats of Kannadigas. There were particular provisions relating to which would impede fundamental personal rights and rights on personal liberty. With respect to giving a notice if you want to convert, you were required to give a notice. You were required to give
the Constitution otherwise.
All right. I'm absolutely out of time. I'm completely out of time. But yes, there is a need to understand this entire debate around conversion with perhaps an objective eye, and we do need empirical data around it. The politics between the BJP and the Congress on this issue will go on. I thank all my panelists for joining us on the broadcast. With that, it's a wrap on Viewpoint. Tossing it over to Plain Speak.